I think when we're looking at meditation and we want to overcome negative thoughts, there's an important sort of energy that needs to be talked about, and it's the energy of fear. When we place belief in the thoughts that we have, we become subject to them. Our peace of mind and our happiness is now completely in the hands of thoughts. So without doing anything, without doing 10 years of meditation, without doing a silent retreat, right now, if you just stop believing what your thoughts tell you, you can have peace. Don't be tricked by the emotion that the thoughts carry. I'd like to sort of offer you this as an example. If you're going to buy a car, just because the car salesman is very passionate, they're very excited, they're very loud, does that mean that the car is necessarily valuable? They could be selling you the worst car in the world. But just because they're yelling at you, just because they're saying it with a lot of passion, just because they're trying to evoke emotion out of you, that doesn't mean what they're saying has any value to it. It's the same thing with a thought. A thought is just noise. A thought is brain chemistry in action. Your brain is like a pot of water. And when you start overthinking, that pot of water comes to a boil. And then your thoughts are literally just the little specks of water that jump out from the pot and hit your arm and trigger you into a reaction. That's what a thought is. So you're treating these thoughts like some intelligent, wise, amazing guide that's always looking out for you. And from one perspective, you can say that your thoughts are always looking out for you, but they're looking out for you in a different way. They're sending you these fearful thoughts because they need to understand what is a real threat and what is not. And spoiler alert, nothing that they say is a real threat. Because even if you were alerted of danger, even if you needed to make a run for it in a dangerous situation, you wouldn't think about it. There would be an initial reaction. And that's the sort of survival instinct that you need to place trust in. You need to trust your body. You can't trust your thoughts. You can trust your mind, but you can't trust your thoughts. You can't trust the thoughts. The mind, of course, is responsible for alerting you if you need to run in from a dangerous situation. When we were living in the wild, however many years ago, it wasn't thoughts that protected us. It was fight or flight. It was a fear mechanism in the body. It was how your mind connects to your body and forces you to run instead of thinking about running. Thoughts are just the sort of blob, just the noise that are bouncing off of the mental activity. They're like dusts flying off of a desk that's been sitting in the sun too long. And instead of seeing the desk as it is, you're trying to chase after every dust because for some reason you believe the dusts are going to somehow predict the hurting that's going to happen in your life. We don't want to believe what the negative thoughts tell us, so we argue with them. And guess what happens when we argue with negative thoughts? We feed them because any reaction is food to a negative thought. Any reaction, any. Even if you come up with a great, valid, perfect reason for why the thought you just had is complete nonsense, it does not matter. And that's what people get wrong. They say, oh yeah, I don't believe my thoughts. Yeah, but you still engage in the conversation with them. If you truly didn't believe them, why are you arguing with them? Why are you playing chess with them? Once you play, you lose. And that's what meditation is. You don't play with the thoughts. You don't itch. You don't pick the scab. That's how you win. That's how you become mindful. That's how you become conscious. You would be surprised how many people know the concept, but they don't practice it. And I know it's annoying and it's slow and it's repetitive, but that's how you actually become free. People can give you false promises of certain meditations or anything else that are going to clear your mind for good. But if you still hold the belief that what your thoughts are telling you are creating any sort of true value, then you're going to be suffering the exact same consequences that you've been suffering for however many years. When the thought comes, you hear it. That's where it should all end. Hear it and then go do something else. If you're walking, keep walking. Look at the tree. Call the tree a tree. Just move on. Don't indulge. Do not indulge. Do not begin the conversation. Don't shake hands with the thought. Don't get into a reasonable debate. Just move on. Focus your attention back to the present moment. That's how you embody awareness. And, when it comes to things like anxiety, especially social anxiety or phobias and fears, we do like to say that, the problem isn't just the thoughts, there's a reaction happening in the body. And that's true because our nervous system and everything in our body, they're connected, you know. And this is when kind of moving through the discomfort and sitting with the discomfort sort of come into play. So the first layer is the thoughts. You have to stop believing the thoughts. But then there's going to be a sort of feeling in your body. And whatever this feeling is, whether it's a tight chest, whether it's the butterflies in your tummy, whether it's a feeling in your throat, whatever it is, you need to move through it. Because we have to start recognizing patterns, right? If before every big event you get the same sort of symptom, you don't say, "Oh, I have a tummy ache this time around. I don't know why. It's weird. I get a tummy ache every time." It's no, well, maybe the tummy ache is partly real, but would you still have that if you didn't have to go to the event, if you didn't have that nerve-wracking thing coming up? And this is how we really break patterns, because then we can actually lessen the degree that we start to feel these sort of anxious and nervous symptoms. Because overcoming the thoughts was one obstacle, and now we need to move through even the physical discomfort. We need to, in a way, act as if it's not there. Because in reality, it's only there because we've conditioned ourselves. We've conditioned this sort of fight or flight survival response to nerve-wracking and anxious situations. So we detach belief from thoughts, and then we move through the actual physical discomfort. I mean, this is the way out. This is mindfulness. We become mindful of what's happening in our body, we become mindful of what's happening in our mind, and we don't allow that to deter us. And just like you unconsciously repeated yourself into sort of existing maybe within these sort of symptoms, or you've conditioned yourself into receiving so many of the same type of thoughts, you can also consciously condition yourself into having way less of those things, way less. Because your brain learns from repetition. Your brain learns from proof. If you stay on the path that you are going to, if you don't let that nervousness deter you, if you don't let those negative and fearful thoughts sort of steer you in a different direction, you're going to start creating a good type of conditioning. Your brain's going to start to say, "Oh, okay, there's no need to send these thoughts. They're not reacting to them. It's not making any influence on their action, so why would I send them? They're obviously unimportant." And then the same thing's going to happen with the body. Your mind is going to stop sending those signals to the body. They're going to say, there's no point in sending those signals because it's not deterring them in any way. It's not adding any sort of value because it's sending you those sort of physical symptoms as a way to tell you, even if you don't want to admit it, that you're nervous, that you're anxious. And it's okay to feel those things, but you have to admit it. You have to say, okay, this is what I'm feeling, and I know that the bodily feeling that I'm experiencing is a result of being anxious or being nervous. And move through those bodily feelings. Move through them. Don't give in to them. Don't give them so much power. And soon a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month passes by. You just got to keep repeating. Just trust in that practice, and it will make a huge difference in your life. This is why people preach meditation. This is why people preach mindfulness, because it's rewiring the brain, it's reconditioning the brain. It doesn't matter if you believe it or not. It doesn't matter. It does not matter if you believe it works or not. If you do it enough times, if you keep repeating not giving energy to your thoughts, if you keep repeating not giving energy to those bodily feelings, you are going to see an improvement in life. You are going to see more natural confidence. You are going to see more natural relaxation in situations where you might have been extremely anxious. And that's just the truth of it, because you're regulating your nervous system through conscious action. When we regulate our nervous system, when we become mindful, when we step back into awareness and see all the behaviors that were causing us so much harm, that we can actually get in there like a programmer and change the code of our mind so our mind starts acting differently even when we don't force it to eventually. We get hope. We feel hope. We feel empowered. It's empowering to know that you can alter the way that your mind operates. It's empowering to know that you can ditch. It's empowering to know that you can condition yourself to feel confidence. It's empowering to know that you can completely change the circuitry and the chemistry of how your mind is operating, that you can feel more at peace in more situations, that you don't need to always feel anxious in that sort of particular situation. And you know what I'm talking about. There's a situation or a place or whatever it is that makes you especially anxious. You can actually feel peace in those places as if you were home or in your safe place. It's possible through neuroplasticity and through just changing our mind through repetitive action.